Grand Rising, welcome in, fam. How are we doing today? It is a Grand Rising. Spirit's like, there's something in the air. Can you feel it? It is a beautiful Saturday. I don't know, man. I guess I would say a matter of perspective, man, because, like, some days you wake up, dude, and the sun is so fucking clear that it's beautiful, right? And then the sky almost looks like the blue that belongs there, right? On those days. And then there's days where the sun doesn't even look real, you know? And you can tell by the way that it feels, man. It wants to burn you instead of enlighten you or brighten you, you know? And I think that's one of those little things that we can notice where time shifting is real. You know what I'm saying? Where you're in another place or you're basically in another vibration or another frequency. Is that when you look up at the sun or you look up to the light, you'll notice that it's different, you know? And they just wanted to point that out because it's a bright, beautiful Saturday. You are absolutely right. But, you know, sometimes days are not so bright, or this day cannot be so bright in different areas or different locations, right? What's up, Anna? And it's just one of those things to consider when you're like utilizing discernment or trying to figure things out for yourself or trying to kind of like reconnect with yourself and embrace the fact that everything is you and you are everything. You know what I'm saying? That everything has a connection. You know, to give you an example, dude, um, you know, as we've all evolved, and for those of us who embrace our spiritual practice and, you know, embrace our gifts and hone in on our gifts and try to figure out how these things work and, you know, the precision behind it, right? You know, I think it was the other day, my wife looked at me and she goes, that tree has nails in it and it's suffering because it wants the board out of the side of the tree. And this was a willow tree in the back. Right? And I was like, well, you could have told me sooner. And then literally I go and I pull, you know, the obstructions from the tree that the tree didn't want there. And the second that I got done, it was the first time I'd ever heard thank you from a tree. You know what I'm saying? So this is the interconnectivity of all things because you are everything and everything is you. And this is real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they almost show me like basic knowledge will tell you that the profundity of making contact with another physical thing, right, allows you to feel into that, right? And this is why a lot of people just literally walk to trees and put their hand on trees or hug trees, is because it's a grounding element, right? It grounds you. But also simultaneously, everybody says that it grounds you, but it's the tree's way of saying, I am you. And you are kind of like way too excited. You know what I'm saying? And this is what the natural flow and the natural essence of the universe actually feels like. So we bring you back to center, and the plant teaches us, you know what I'm saying? Or the tree teaches us, well, the plant teaches us that, hey, we're overreacting or we're literally running at a pace that is causing hypersensitivity or hyperventilation or anxiety in one way or another. The speed of flow is completely different, fam. And I think that's very important to understand. And that's kind of like a basic understanding of the representation of the collective message that we're going to get into here. Because today, everything feels like it might be a juggling act in one way or another, right? Like there might be some decisions on the table that need to be made. There might be some anticipation of decisions that are made. You know what I'm saying? Looking forward to the future is what I'm also hearing here. So there's a profundity to this message, you know, for people out there to understand the universe is a gift and the gift is the universe and the universe is also you and you are it, right? And again, they focus on the interconnectedness of all things is what they want me to tell you there. It's like, dude, you are connected. You see these things for yourself. You can feel these things in one way or another. So please understand yourself is what I'm also hearing, you know? And, you know, when these messages come in, fam, you know, it's funny because it comes with the utmost compassion, but it might seem a little rash or direct or, you know, unfavorable or unpleasing to the mind. And it's also important to understand that there's a frequency that's associated with that helps people realize this is not your enemy. Information is not your enemy. Knowledge and wisdom And a smooth vibration or a smooth presence is not your enemy either. It's, you know, our lack of awareness or our lack of sense of empathy towards ourselves that doesn't allow us to feel into these things, right? You know, we could have emotional blockages, we could have mental blockages, all these things. And I believe a lot of these things are already coming up to the center, to the surface, and to the center is what Spirit just said. You know, and it's no surprise because the hangman's right here. You know, we hang from the tree of knowledge to, you know, until we're good and ready to come back down and get back to life or get back into it or become more, you know, dedicated and looking at things from a different light, because that light is, the light is everything, right? And this is what I see, that not many people see the ability to have a blessing or two today or within these next upcoming days, because it's a profound revelation in people's universe is what I'm also hearing, you know? So this is a switch everybody's going to be able to feel. This is a switch that everybody's going to be able to sense in one way or another, or notice. In other words, God, clarity, and more clarity is coming towards thee, is what I need to tell you that. And it'll show you the difference between the light and the dark, or almost like how we were talking about the sun earlier and the crystalline light. You know what I'm saying? Like these things, this is fortune in our favor when we have the ability to tune into these things, notice these things, and see these things, because these are moments where we have the ability to reconnect with ourselves, right? So with that being said, it gives you the clarity and it allows you to focus on things that are more important. It allows you to navigate your physical life or your physical structure or whatever it is that you're trying to take care of, break, fix, whatever needs to be done right now. It's right here. You know what I'm saying? Like we have the time to actualize whatever's going on with this energy. You know what I'm saying? But also I feel like there's not another side to this whole message about watching out for people that don't necessarily favor you in one way or another, that you have problems with or you've had problems with in the past. You know what I'm saying? Even though that you've shown yourself forgiveness, it's no surprise that during a profound shift, when you're about to rise and you're about to ascend, that these things will come up and try to keep you somewhere where they think that you're at. You know, and here we are. And I believe a lot of the devil energy that's been coming out lately is kind of like related to that. Is like people are suffering from their own ego mind and they're going through ego deaths and there's persecution and shit. So some of you might be feeling projections, heavy weight, lethargy, like things are attached to you, but they're not, is what Spirit is saying. So, you know, do be mindful and do keep out for those things, because we are spiritual beings and having a spiritual experience. And sometimes, you know, warfare is part of the deal. You know what I'm saying? We have to understand that when you go to defense class, and in a sense, you know, we have to learn these things, how to guard our energy, how to be mindful of our energy, how to manifest with our energy. You know what I'm saying? It's a spiritual discipline, fam. It's nothing to get angry about or frustrated. It's just a spiritual understanding of how things function in this universe, in this world. You know what I'm saying? The reality of things. You're going into the 5D, and this is 5D consciousness. This is the things that we talk about. These are concepts for the collective. You know what I'm saying? To embrace and understand that you are all awakening and all coming up into a higher level of understanding and ascension. In a sense, your vibration and your frequency is clearing out. Therefore, these type of communications or conversations are going to be a little bit more normal, or much more normal, is what Spirit is saying. So get used to it, okay? There's nothing to be offended here or feel like you're being projected towards. There's only to feel, to understand these things, on why these things are coming up, because you're all basically on the same playing field. And this is why you're here, because you're listening to these messages, even the people in the back, because they're meant to see that, is what Spirit just said. You know what I'm saying? They're meant to see the focus. They're meant to see the determination in their faces. So, you know, if you're facing adversity in your life right now, because adversity is a thing and it's a real big fan right now, just understand that these things are happening, so that way you can show up and show out and prove to whatever it is that you need to prove that you are no longer, whether that's you, the universe, another person, or whatever God intended that to be. You know what I'm saying? Salah. So I believe there's a little bit of a fire warrior aspect that also needs to be understood here. You know what I'm saying? Hold your bounds. You are not boundless. You are boundless. You know what I'm saying? And the emotional value that we put towards everything from here on out is going to be a direct representation of an outcome, right? There's no bullshit, man. You know what I'm saying? This is how the universe responds. It's physics, you know? And if you understand universal law, this is how the universe works. You know what I'm saying? So it's a personal experience between you and the connection to the divine or the universe or God or the creator, whichever way you want to look at that, great spirit and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Now we're embracing that singular connection that we have with all that is. You know what I'm saying? We're in that learning space, the teaching space, where we're understanding that this takes more discipline, that we are divine, that we are sovereign, you know, natural beings to this fucking place, you know what I'm saying, to this universe and to this earth. You know, that we're more connected with everything around us more than we ever have been, because now we're paying attention and we need to know more of that, right? We're being fed that because we've asked for it, and here we are. These are all these profound changes that are happening that just so happens to align with God's clock right now. You know what I'm saying? So this isn't time to, it's like it's time to understand that you've been modified. You know what I'm saying? Whether you realize it or not, and look internally in your structure to see what it is that has been modified and why you feel a certain type of way when you think about a certain thing, right? Not that we have to go through this whole grand deductive process to do so, but it's to realize and recognize in the moment that I am feeling something that is calling to me, right? And this is how the divine works. This is how communication works. This is how connection, alignment, awareness, body awareness, energy, knowing what energy is giving you or feeding you or telling you. All these things are happening right now, fam. You know what I'm saying? And I am no stranger to it, you know, because energy is my first language, right? So I'm seeing all these things happen and I'm like, hey, yeah, these things are going on because of this, 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 and this, and this, because I've been there. I've done that. You know what I'm saying? I've been there before. You know, I watched all these things. Even when people couldn't understand what the fuck I was saying half the time, here we are. You guys are becoming more clear and understanding what the fuck I'm saying, because the message really hasn't changed much. You know what I'm saying? It's just become more direct and profound, right? And that's the power of presence. You know, we're not taking our ball and go home and we're cowering in fear. We know who we are. We are what the divine has declared us to be, because we are that. You know what I'm saying? And there's a level of respect that we can walk with now with it, not being afraid to be who we are. This is like the big trip, you know what I'm saying, is what Spirit just said. This is the big behavior that not a lot of people talk about. You know what I'm saying? That we as human beings have a tendency to overreact to the things that we, you know, to the things that our brain can't necessarily comprehend. But if we let go of the thought and we smooth ourselves into it, you realize that that it didn't really matter that much. You know what I'm saying? Even the whole diabolical thought process, or the way that a fear came up because you got scared because of something that happened, or you don't know what it is, right? This is spiritual ascension, fam. And I hear get used to it, right? And you can't make it up, because this is how you master the physical. This is what we've all been talking about. These are about those surges on you. We didn't make that up. That was all true. You signed up to be here for a certain amount of things in a certain way, and da 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 da. And here we are honoring that contract, and it's more apparent and more clear than it ever has been. So now you know even more that you're not being bullshitted, and you might have to change everything. You know what I'm saying? Depending on who you are, where you're at, what you're thinking. You know what I'm saying? Vibrational alignment is key, is what Spirit is saying. So, you know, it's more so that it's to embrace the presentation that is happening right now. Because for a lot of you who doubted the divine in the first place or couldn't connect with the divine, they are literally confirming it bit by bit. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have that opportunity before, and here we are, man. So this is a true testament to where you guys are right now. You know what I'm saying? Because this conversation can't happen if you didn't, right? You know what I'm saying? Now you're starting to realize how universal law, the law of cause and effect works, the law of duality, how that works. There really is no enemy at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It's more so of understanding the enemy that's already within you, that's been programmed to be there, right? You know, it's like almost Matrix type shit, but it's not really, dude. It's a divine thing. It's a sovereign thing. This is a part of our growth. This is our part of our natural evolution. There really is no enemy at the end of the day, but we have to see the enemy and within ourselves and extinguish them. Therefore, without, they are extinguished as well, right? And that kind of gives you a general idea how we change the vibration of the planet, right? It kind of gives you a general idea how we change the vibration of the universe, because now we're in more acceptance of what we are, therefore allowing more things to change in our favor, right? And that's the profundity. The scale of this is so fucking big, dude. It's overwhelming if you fucking tune into it or you think about it too much. But the reality and the truth is that this is happening, and you know it now. And you know it now because you can feel it. Therefore, don't be concerned. Maybe being concerned with the lack of distrust. You know what I'm saying, in that aspect, you know? And be more confirming in your life and looking for those confirmations in one way or another, because the divine is speaking to you. The universe is calling to you right now. There's one direction here for people, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say for people like us, but for those who choose to engage in this path, because the other one is something that we cannot see the end of. You know what I'm saying? And that's like this AI universe or whatever the hell you want to call it, or when people decided to, again, go left instead of go forward. You know what I'm saying? This is human evolution in a nutshell, fam. We've all done this before. You know, we're souls in a body. You know, and this type of perspective is something that we don't have to go and preach, right? We just have to understand it for ourselves to allow ourselves to navigate this world much more clear and concise, right? And that's what the learning's all about. That's what the presentation's all about. That's what this communication and this collective energy is all about right now. It's us becoming more in tune and aligned, becoming more one with oneself, and more inclined to do so, because now, you know, the universe is really, really interacting with us, right? There's not a lot of room for bullshit activity. You know what I'm saying? You're either going one way or the other, you know? The in-between is a choice that you have to make. You know what I'm saying? On which side you want to go on, you know, which wolf you're going to feed, you know, which mouth you're going to feed, what you're going to continue to tolerate. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if there's things that are pissing you off right now, understand that those things are meant to piss you off for some kind of reason. Be more humbly accepting of the fact that it's an internal thing that you're feeling. You know what I'm saying? And it's asking you to take a look where it's at instead of outside of itself, is what Spirit just said as well. So you see that there's all this benefits, there's all this clarity, and there's all this function that is going on astrologically, energetically, realizationally. This is what spiritual discipline is all about. This is the awareness. You're all really fucking smart and you don't know it yet. You know what I'm saying? You have no idea how intelligent you are, you know? And, you know, when we speak this stuff, dude, let it not be demeaning to those who have a hard time comprehending in one way or another. The compassion is there. Compassion is something that you can feel on any level. And even if you don't understand what's going on, just understand that we're speaking to the soul too, and the soul remembers everything because you are it, and it is everything. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the deductive process or the mental process that we go under, unfortunately, because of, you know, lack of significance or self-worth or some type of poverty issue, puts us in these places more and more than when we'd like to believe. You know what I'm saying? And we assume these things to be normal when they're actually not. You know what I'm saying? And this is when you release the mind from dysfunction, that the truth of the dysfunction shows you the clarity of something that didn't really have to exist in the first place, but it taught you a lot, you know? And now you can actually share that knowledge, wisdom, and experience by being the divine representation of that in your own life and allowing that to take you the way that it was meant to take you away in the first place. And here we are, hanging from the tree of knowledge, absorbing information right now. You know what I'm saying? Taking a look back on everything and understanding that there is no looking back, right? This is a pivotal moment for some, you know, not realizing that they're taking a step into the unknown, but they're doing it proudly and they're doing it gratefully and they're embracing it regardless of what it is. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. And I need to be happy about what it is that I'm doing, because God's opening a door for me and I have to walk through that door regardless of what it looks like, but I know it's shiny. You know what I'm saying? This might be happening to you. You know, this might be that reflection time where you realize that this is a pivotal moment in your life, and, you know, be grateful for everything's about to shift. You know what I'm saying? And things will be different, but you will notice it, you know, is what I also heard. You know, you got to swim like a fish in the sea is what I hear. Smoothness of your reality is what I also heard. You know, these things are happening. Do not fear. Yeah, dude. There's going to be a lot of opening up. There's going to be a lot of emotion that might be coming out of you, people pouring out in one way or another. Possibly even crying tears, you know, maybe even overwhelmed by emotion or stuck in a box or feeling like you're under pressure, like everything is crushing you or crumbling you somehow. You know what I'm saying? This is a destructive fear and also a process that we're going under right now. The great pressure is actually bringing out the light in you. You know, so, you know, if this is happening to you, and I know it, you know, we know it does, you know, when you're overwhelmed by emotion or you're overwhelmed by compassion and you cannot stop the tears, just understand that the great purification is near, you know, that Even if you feel like you're carrying, it was the bag that you were carrying that you're crying about, that you're letting go of now. And that's the best way we can say that. You know what I'm saying? To help you guys understand what's happening right now. You know, to understand that the spiritual layer is the most important layer that you have, but you've been putting it in the background for too long that you just can't see it, right? But I think the way we explained it here will help people understand that that is the layer to pay attention to, because that one is more important, but your physical reality needs balance, okay? And you know you're not a space cadet, okay? You can do this because you've done it before, and we've done it over and over again, and now we're here, and here we are, and we should be, you know, we should embrace that very fact a little bit more and take things a little bit more into more accord and account of what we are and what we're here, what we represent, right? You know? So whatever's in the backpack is coming out, all right? And it's shining in your face as you go deeper and deeper to the backpack, if that's you. You know? Be willing to do, or be willing to see what the universe is showing you, because that's what's happening here, you know? You know, your cups are now free, you know? Your emotions are like butterflies swimming in the ocean right now, except that they want to get out. You know, are you going to let them fly, or are you going to keep on overwhelming them with more water? You know, it's like we have a decision to make. You know, if this is you, you understand that it's like, hey, dude, maybe I shouldn't be like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I just got to stop allowing myself to feel a certain type of way, so that way, you know what I'm saying? Which literally causes me to change my frequency in a moment and give me more of what I'm focusing on, and put me in a place of despair where I don't belong. We have choices. You know what I'm saying? But we have to make sensible choices to make, you know, to make emotional decisions. We got to know how they flow. We got to know how they work. We got to know how they move. We got to know why they punish us. We got to know why it makes us feel this way, right? And all that is being spoken in a moment, as long as we're willing to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? This is the teaching fam, all right? This is divine discipline. This is what we teach in the mentorship space. This is we teach you how to engage in these things more and more often, so that way you better understand yourself and what it actually represents. Because everybody thinks, I was like, yeah, I'm a spirit in a body. No, now you can feel it. Now you can see it. Now somehow you know that that's real. It's not just on the surface where it's like, hey, yeah, I'm a spirit in a body. I'm just a soul in a body, right? Or I'm an old soul. No, now you're experiencing it. You're experiencing the very thing that you knew. And you said, I know, a long time ago, and here you are going, what the hell is happening? Well, now you're experiencing the fact that you know what you are, because you spoke it into existence. And it took this long to get you here. So that way you can see your manifestation come true. Boom. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Look how far you've come. You know what I'm saying? Look how far you've come. Remember when you intended that. Remember when you asked for that, and here it is. You know, love is confirmation, man. You know what I'm saying? You should be proud of yourself. You know, we don't take these things into account as much as we should, but you know what I'm saying? That's part of the realization. That's part of the clarity. That's part of the journey. That's part of the ride. That's part of the willingness to engage in a proper disciplined space, you know, and understanding what a powerful creator you really are. You know, when they told you were special, that was some fucking superficial, fucking linear bullshit, dude. Now God's showing you exactly what that fucking means. And we should be more proud about it, you know? Because it's not just this physical reality that we're mastering. It's everything above that we're realizing that we brought to the table to share with others. That's a good one. You know what I'm saying? You know, the wheel turns in your favor, you know, but with great responsibility and accountability, right? You know what I'm saying? Great power, great responsibility. Now you understand the profundity of yourself. Now what are you going to do next? Which step are you going to take? What is it that you've been intending? What do you want to do? Does it seem like it's more real to you now that we've said that? Does it seem like There's less things getting in the way now that your ideology, now that you're more clear, that you're more true, that you're more authentic to you. You know what I'm saying? Does this open your eyes in a way where you could see the doorway now? You know, and how it works, you know? So I hope you enjoyed this collective message, but I honestly feel like, you know, there's one more here. You know what I'm saying? Because I think it's a special message for somebody from somebody from above. Hold on a second. Yeah. The things that you do not speak into existence never happen. The will and intent that it takes to create change in our lives takes only a moment for us to realize that in a blink of an eye or a breath we take, we can make those things happen in our favor. And that's how quick change works, you know? And I believe this is also associated with, you know, realizing that these things are coming in to show you how blessed you really are. And now it's not so much of an opportunity to punish yourself or be punished. Now you're going through a new doorway, which is a higher ascension, which is a level of vibration that has ascended beyond a level of vibration that can no longer affect you. So there's really nothing to be afraid of, and anything that comes up from the past is just a memory, right? And here we are. The wheel comes in full circle, and it's the wheel of fortune. And the fortune is in your favor right now. What are you going to do about it? Salah. Thank you. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this collective message, fam. Much love and respect to spirit. You know, these are channel messages. You know what I'm saying? To remember where we came from, what we're here for, what we do, how we do, why we do. You know what I'm saying? To be more proud to be you is what I also hear. So much love and gratitude to each and every one of you. Thank you. If you'd like a reading today, I am doing donation-based readings. You can put anything in the donation bar. Okay, I'm not putting a price on the donation-based readings. The link is in the bio. You can type down in how you donate it to see where you stand in this energy, where you're at, what you may or may not need to do, what you may or may not realize needs to be done. You know, so all these beautiful factors come into place. If you don't want any of your business, you know, here on live, we have a one-on-one space. You can go to the link in the bio. That's fourcornershealing37.com. You can look for the Sacred Soul Counsel unless you're looking for energy healing services. We have Reiki, we have sound and energy healing club services right there. We do second, 13 chakra Reiki, 7 chakra Reiki. It doesn't matter. You know, these things are beneficial to you in one way or another, because the more layers we peel back, the more we come to understand that our divine intelligence is always growing and expanding, and our knowledge is expanding of ourselves in this universe simultaneously. You know, and it came up in the collective message today, and here we are, fam. You know, this is the real you. This is the divine intelligence you, you know. And if along the way you feel like you've disrespected yourself, or there was a lack of respect for yourself, just understand that's part of the experience of realizing of what you're no longer, you know. Because sometimes the realizations of the truth can be not a spit in the face, but like, you know, it makes us feel some type of way. And it's important for us to understand that it's like, wait a minute, hold on. I'm not that anymore. And this is what I'm taking back for myself, to be more of what it is that I desire, or what I'm meant to be, you know.